All right, thank you for watching this video. Introduction to Probability. We are now starting Unit 5. By the end of class, or by the end of this video, every student will be able to identify which of the two events is more likely and define probability. So tonight's homework is homework number 1. That is a worksheet. All right, so you're just going to look at this and ask yourself which is more likely. Spinning a red on the spinner or spinning a blue on the spinner. All right. So hopefully by now you've decided, and there we would say that spinning a red on the spinner is more likely. The more important question is why? All right, how can we discuss this, right? We've got two spaces that are blue. We've got three options, three events that would give us red. So an event would be spinning the spinner and it'd land on one of the colors, right? The sample space is all the different options. So you could either land on orange or red or yellow or blue. So the sample space is orange, red, yellow, blue. And we use set notation, which are these French brackets, curly brackets. But why is it more likely to spin red than blue? All right, you may have said or thought there are 3 reds and there are only 2 blues. Okay, cool. All right, which is more likely, flipping heads on a coin or flipping tails on a coin? All right, well, heads on a coin, there's 1 head and there are 2 sides. Here on tails, there's 1 tail and 2 sides. So which is more likely? Hopefully you said neither. They're equally likely. They are equally likely. And why is that the case? Is there more weight on one side of the coin or the other? Is there any kind of reason that you would get one more than the other? Not really. If you did a study and you flipped a coin 1,000 times, you'd be about half and half. It's not going to be exact, right? So there's experimental probability and there's theoretical probability. So in theory, the coin is going to land on heads half of the time and tails half the time. But in experimental, it's not always going to be exactly that. All right, spinning a yellow on the spinner or flipping tails on the coin. All right, so flipping tails on the coin. All right, I'll give you a minute. Think about it. All right, let's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like there are 10 total options on the spinner. So the total number of options we have is here. Spinning a yellow, there are 4 events that satisfy yellow. Flipping a tails would be 1 in 2. So which is more likely? Just looking at these fractions, maybe it's a little tricky to tell, but half here would be 5 out of 10, right? We would need it to be at least 5 out of 10 to be equal, so this is less than that. So which is more likely? B would be more likely. I would say because less than half of the blocks are yellow, so it's less likely. All right, which is more likely? Spinning not red on the spinner, and we're going to be talking about notation, like what's the probability of spinning red not? When you see this prime, it means not red. So the probability of spinning red would look like this, and the probability of spinning not red would look like that. So what's the probability of not spinning red on the spinner? All right, so we have 3, so there must be 7. 7 chances out of 10 to spin a red. And spinning not yellow, what's the probability of not spinning yellow on the spinner? Let's see, there are 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, so there are only 6 out of 10 that are not yellow. All right, so which is more likely? Well, we have more chances with A than we do with B. Here we only have 6, here we have 7. All right. Alright, what's the probability of flipping heads on the coin and spinning a yellow or orange on the spinner? Alright, you decide which is more likely, A or B. Alright, if you said they are equally likely, I would agree. We have 1 and 2, and here we have 5 out of 10. If you simplify, it's easier to see that they're equal, but they're both 1/2. Alright, flipping heads or tails on the coin. What's the probability of that? Flipping heads or tails? Is there any other option? Could the coin land and this is the ground and it's like on its edge? Is that ever gonna happen? It's very, very unlikely. So the probability is 1. The probability of flipping, we're going to talk about more notation, probability of flipping a heads or a tails, that right there is a or. So there's an or and there's an and. When I think of an and, I think of a staple. This and that, if you want to staple two things together, it's an and, or it looks like an A. And this is an or. If you think of a boat, it kind of looks like a boat with some oars, like O-A-R. Alright, so this is the probability of heads or tails. Probability of heads or tails is just 1. 1 is the complete, like, it's definitely going to happen. You are going to flip a heads or you'll flip a tails. What's the probability of spinning a blue or red on the spinner? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like 5 out of 10. So definitely, so that's 1/2, and that's 1. 1 is more likely to happen than 1/2. Half the time. All the time, it's going to happen. Alright. Cool. Alright, spinning a 1 on spinner 1, spinning a 1 on spinner 2. Which is more likely? If you said spinning a 1 on spinner 1, I would agree with you. And why is that more likely? Alright, if you said, well, it's a larger space, it takes up more area, it's 1/3 versus 1/6, all of those are great answers. So spinner 1 is 1/3 of the space, this is 1/6. It's a larger area, smaller area. Alright. What's the probability of spinning an odd number on spinner 1? Okay, so odd number, 1, 3. Which is more likely? 1 and 3, so that would be 1/3, 2/3. We have 2 parts out of 3. And what's spinning an odd number on spinner 2? Spinner 2, 1, 3, 5. So in this case, it's 3 of the 6. 3 of the 6, or half of that whole circle, would be a successful event. Alright, so 2/3 is larger than 1/2, right? This together is larger than 1/2. 2/3 is larger than 1/2, so this would be more likely. Alright, how many more of these do we have? Hold on one second. 1, 2, oh, that's a little different. Okay. Just one more. Alright, which is more likely? Spinning a 1 or 2 on spinner 1, 1 or 2 on spinner 1, or spinning a 1 or 2 on spinner 2. Okay, I feel like this is kind of repetitive here. Whew. Okay, this is larger area, so spinning a 1 would be more likely. Alright, cool. So, assume that you are spinning the spinner and drawing one token from the bag. So now we have kind of more complex example. Which of the following is most likely and which is least likely? Okay, so we're putting these into most likely, least likely. Outcome is an odd number on the spinner 1 and a red token from the bag. So you have to do this and that. An odd number on the spinner, 2 that happens 2 out of 3 times. And the likelihood of picking a red from the bag, 2 out of 6. So we have to do this and that. All right, so what I want you to do is put all of these in order from most likely to least likely. You can just put 1, 2, and 3 and write that down. I'm going to check with that in a minute. Okay. I think we're going to skip that one. All right. So some quick notes. Probability is a measure of how likely it is for an event to happen. Probability falls between 0 and 1. 0 is never going to happen. 1 is definitely going to happen. If an event is certain to happen, the probability is 1. The probability the sun will rise from the east tomorrow morning. That has a probability of 1. If an event is certain not to happen, then the probability is 0. Probability that a 7 will occur when you roll a 6-sided die. Well, there's only 6 sides, so you're never going to get to 7. Probability is not expressed as a percent. So we are expressing them as fractions. So it's a fraction between 0 and 1, or as a decimal between 0 and 1. Decimal. Okay? All right. Cool. So how we find probability, as you probably already saw or worked with, you are finding the probability is equal to the number of ways a given event can occur divided by the total number of possible outcomes. So the probability that an even number occurs when you roll a dice. So the even numbers are 2, 4, and 6. That's the sample space. Out of the whole sample space is 3 out of 6, which simplifies. What is the probability that an event is greater than 4 when you roll a die? So greater than 4 doesn't include 4. So 5 and 6 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm almost done. I'm sorry. All right. So that would be 2 out of 6, or 1/3. All right. What is the probability that an event is a prime number? Ooh, what are prime numbers? Okay. I feel like 1 used to be considered a prime number, and it's no longer considered a prime number. So 1 is not a prime number, but 2 is a prime number. The definition of prime is the only factors are 1 and itself. Okay, so prime numbers. 1 is not. 2 is a prime number. 3 is a prime number. 4 is not, because you can break it down to 2 and 2. 5 is a prime number. 6 is not. 7 is. 8 is not. 9 is not. 10 is not. 11 is. All right, so what I'd like you to do is list all the prime numbers that you can up to, let's say, 29. I'd like you to write out all the prime numbers you can think of. All right. Is this it? No, it's not. Okay, there's a bit more. I will do another. Well, here, I'm going to have you guys pause. So what I'd like you to do, I'm going to go to each page. I want you to pause on the page and answer the questions. So go ahead, hit pause. Answer these questions on a sheet of paper. Here's a deck of playing cards. If you're not familiar with it, take a look for a minute. Notice how many aces, how many cards there are in each suit. Here we're going to be grouping different ways. We'll talk about that in class. And what is the probability of each of these? The king of hearts is selected. There's only one of those out of 52 cards. The king is selected. Well, how many kings are there? 4 kings. So 4 out of 52. A diamond is selected. How many diamonds are there? 13 out of 52. But that simplifies. It's 1/4 of the deck. All right, a face card. What is a face card? Face card are all of these. All right. I would like you to do event 5, 6, 7, and 8 on your own piece of paper. Okay, so you are turning in event 5, 6, 7, 8. I'd like to see what you got for those. And tonight's homework is homework number 1. Thanks for watching.